Yes, you can break your creativity, but like a broken bone, it can heal. How the heck do you break your creativity? How would I know if mine is injured? Is healing your creativity worth the effort? And how in the world do you begin to do that? I'll answer all these questions in this video. By the way, I'm Jo Vertis, and I'm the author of a book on this very topic. In my book, I argued that every human is born in possession of a creative spirit. We all innately know how to create. Moreover, we love to create. When we're not creating, we long to create. And if we're longing to create something but not actually doing it, we're likely suffering from an injury to our creative spirit. So how can your creativity get injured? When I was in college, I was studying as a pianist. I had worked very hard to get to that point. By the time I finished high school, I was practicing more than 4 hours a day. It was my absolute passion. Everything was going well. I was going to that school on a piano scholarship, and my professors were happy with my playing. But in my second year, someone from a different department criticized me and told me that not only did he not like my playing, he didn't think I had any future as a pianist. For whatever reason, I forgot about all the other positive feedback I'd gotten about my playing. I forgot about the scholarships. When I remembered, I concluded I was a fraud and that I had somehow fooled the piano faculty into giving me a scholarship. Crazy, right? I first heard the term imposter syndrome over 15 years later, and only then did I start to make sense out of the muddled mess of my thoughts from that time. Anyway, that cello professor single-handedly destroyed my confidence and all my hopes for the career my young heart had dreamed of and worked toward my entire life. In the brief moment it took him to hurt me with those words, my life, my identity, and of course my creative spirit became severely injured. What happened next, I later learned, is a very common reaction to trauma. I told no one what had happened. I withdrew into myself. I became extremely depressed, and most of all, I began suffering from an overwhelming sense of shame. I was so ashamed of my failure as a pianist that I quit my piano studies and changed my major to composition. I eventually quit that too. In later years, I tried to avoid revealing the fact that I'd been a musician so that people wouldn't ask me about it. Eventually, I couldn't even listen to music. It was such a painful reminder of the injury to that part of me that loved music so much. I've talked to a lot of other people with similar stories. People who were joyfully expressing themselves through music, art, theater, writing, or something else creative, when somewhere along the line a teacher, parent, or peer shamed them or ridiculed them for it. Needless to say, our creative spirits aren't the warrior part of us. They are the playful, childlike part of us. As children need to be protected and treated with love, so do our creative spirits. If we don't yet know how to protect them, and then we go out with our beautiful creative spirits to share our hearts openly with the world, they can easily get injured by people who don't know what a valuable treasure a person's creative spirit is, don't care enough to be kind, or just don't know how to be supportive. So, how would you know if your creativity is injured? You might have remembered a painful experience of your own immediately when you heard my story. Those events are often burned into our memories like a cattle brand. Or there may not have been one specific moment when you shut your creativity down due to the pain of an injury, but rather it could have gradually dimmed, slowly muted by the constant discouragement creative spirits endure from traditional education and the grind of daily life. Let me ask you this. How often do you have a creative idea or impulse? A creative idea doesn't have to be related to an art form. This could be some little innovation or practical solution to a problem, just something you'd never thought of before. Or it could be an idea to start a new project. Did you feel the tug of a desire to work on a creative idea in the past couple of weeks? If you did you follow through with that urge? If you aren't having ideas, or if you're having them and not following through in some way, your creative spirit probably needs some tender, loving care. This sounds painful. Is it really worth it? If you've had a serious wound to your creativity and you're anything like me, working on healing that might be the last thing you want to do. For me, my history with music was a radioactive topic for many years. I avoided it like the plague. But I had gotten to a point in my life where my mental health had deteriorated so much that I was not able to function. I could no longer work, attend family events, or maintain a relationship. My suffering was so severe, I was willing to do anything to get better. So I started working on healing my music trauma. It took several years, but it did heal. I used to be very slow at finishing anything, but when I started writing music again, I was suddenly cranking out songs like a machine. Let me tell you why going into that painful place to heal was totally worth it for me. When I healed my creativity, I threw out all the limitations I used to put on myself. I started exploring anything and everything that interested me. I found out I can do a lot more things than I thought I could. It was like getting to know a person I thought I knew, but in fact, I really didn't. It's made my life way more exciting and fun. My creative spirit led me through my curiosity and desire to explore tons of new things. I got into painting, sculpting, drawing, photography, making videos, fabric arts, sewing, embroidery, crochet. I've made rugs, lamps, a table, and other stuff for my home. I've made cards and gifts for family. I've messed around with wood carving. I've done a ton of cooking. I've been making practical stuff like skincare products, chapstick, and clothes. I've designed my own patterns for clothes. I've made a couple of websites. I learned a bit of programming, and on and on. I've become more productive and more prolific than I'd ever been before. Once you aren't afraid to do the one thing you told yourself you weren't good enough to do, all of a sudden, anything is possible. You stop limiting yourself and start saying yes to your imagination. You start saying yes when your creative spirit invites you to go on a new adventure. You start exploring for the joy of it, and then nothing can limit your potential. When I was solely focused on music, my creativity had a beautiful outlet. But because I defined myself as a musician, I didn't give myself permission to play around with other forms of creation. It's incredibly freeing and exciting to get rid of those labels and boxes we put ourselves in. I'm a musician, I'm not an artist. I can't dance, I'm not good at singing. And remember that we are all natural creators. Our creativity only has limits if we ourselves decide it does. When you throw off any barriers you may have put around your own creativity, I bet you'll find parts of yourself you didn't know were there too. As you explore your interests and curiosity without inhibition or self-imposed limits, I bet you'll find yourself even more interesting, unique, surprising, and lovable than you ever realized. Your confidence will go through the roof when you realize you can pursue any creative idea you want, have fun with it, and feel good about enjoying it, no matter how the project turns out. You'll notice that in other, seemingly unrelated areas of life, you have more courage to try something you used to assume wouldn't be possible. For example, after my creativity healed, I got fit and relatively strong for the first time in my life. That which had seemed impossible, simply because I'd never done it before, no longer seemed that way. Because I was doing new things all the time now, as I followed my creative spirit into new projects. Like walking around with a broken leg, I drug my sad, injured creative spirit around for years. Having lived both that way and with it healed, I can assure you it is absolutely worth healing this precious, integral part of you. How can I heal an injury to my creativity? There is too much to say on that topic to fit it all in this video. That's why I wrote a book about it. But I'm going to give you 3 important things you need to know to get started healing your creativity. The first thing you need to know is how to soothe yourself. If you already have a trusty emotion regulation tool that you like to use, some kind of meditation perhaps, your preferred form of exercise, a certain song that calms you down, taking a hot shower, or whatever else works for you when you're feeling distressed. You can use that if difficult emotions arise. If you don't have anything like that, you can watch my video on 3 mindfulness meditations here, which walks you through great techniques that I've used many times to help me through intense emotions. Or you can contact me and I will send you a free PDF with some additional self-soothing techniques from my book. Remember, your creative spirit needs to be protected and cared for like a little child. Setting yourself up with a plan for self-soothing will help establish a foundation of safety, and your creative spirit will understand that you're going to be there to take care of it if things get too scary. Anytime you feel emotional distress while you're working to heal your creativity, use one of these tools to soothe yourself. Then take a break and come back to it after a day or so. The next thing you need to know is the difference between results-oriented and process-oriented creativity. Just like it sounds, results-oriented creativity is creative work that is focused on achieving a particular result. Process-oriented creativity is creative activity done with the sole objective of experiencing the process of whatever it is you're doing, and ideally enjoying being involved in that process. In process-oriented creativity, you don't have any business having concerns, opinions, or judgments of the result of your work. If it's ugly in the end, that's just as good as a beautiful result, so long as you were engrossed in the process when you were working on it. Creative work that is unencumbered by concerns about the result is a whole different animal than results-oriented creative work. It can lead you in surprising and wonderful directions, and most importantly, it can help you heal your creativity. Now you have a new mindset from which to approach your creativity, and you have some self-soothing tools in your back pocket in case you need them. The third thing is you need to plan to spend 5 minutes a day with your creativity. 5 minutes is enough to give you some daily contact with this part of yourself, and it's a small enough time frame that it doesn't have to be too daunting. If you have difficult feelings about expressing your creativity, you can expose yourself to them for just 5 minutes, knowing that after that, you can use your soothing tools to feel better. With time, it will get easier. Showing up for yourself every day in this way will encourage your creative spirit to show up for you too. In this video, I included a long list of ideas of creative activities that can prompt your thinking about what might appeal to you and feel approachable right now. When I started healing, I didn't work on music right away. Visual art felt safer and more comfortable. But working with creativity in any form translates and applies to all other forms of expression. So feel free to think outside the box for ideas of activities you could try. Your creative spirit will guide you. Go with your first impulse. Try this for 30 days. If that seems like too much of a commitment right now, then just try it for a week. Give 5 minutes of each day to your creativity and let me know what happens. I'm curious. I hope you are too. I have so many more tools and tricks and ideas and exercises in my book about healing creativity. So if this is something you want to learn more about, please visit onearthiamsafe.com. Don't forget to contact me if you'd like me to send you a free PDF about self-soothing. I hope you have a peaceful day, my friend, and I hope you spend some of it with your creativity. See you next time.